This is The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Now, here's Frank Morano.
This is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. I have a love-hate relationship with Gmail, but if I'm picking one end of the spectrum or the other, I have to say I err closer to hate. There's a lot of good things about Gmail. It's very easily searchable. It's very intuitive and user-friendly in many respects, but every day, one of two things happens to me. Sometimes both of these things happen to me. Either I will be answering my email in chronological order, and then all of a sudden it just skips ahead hours. I'm not doing anything. I'm just clicking. And then all of a sudden I've skipped a whole bunch of things. Then the other thing is, I'll get to the end of my inbox, at least it's what I think is the end of my inbox, go through all the emails, and then it still says I have one unread email. Where's that one read email? Where did it come from? How did it get there? I just went through everything. And then you have to go back page by page and find that unread email. Thankfully, I just found it. It's from an email from Ralph Romeo, wants to come on the show. Ralph Romeo is a great guy. He's a big talk radio caller, but he's also a talk show host in his own right, a personal trainer and an actor. He's got a beautiful wife as well, who was a big supporter of this show. And he's got a great voice. He's got one of these voices where he just sounds like an actor. And he is an interesting guy. So from time to time, we have these panel discussions, which I like to do, where we have people in studio. I'll throw a few subjects out there, and everybody kind of, chews the fat on the subjects. Fred Rubino, the comedian's been a part of it. John McDonough's been a part of it. Marlena Shivo, Noel Ashman, a number of folks. I really like doing it. It's fun. I think it's one of the most fun aspects of this show. You can kind of play mad scientist and see how these different groups interact with one another. I think it's really interesting. So I thought Ralph would be good for one of these panels. So I've repeatedly invited him in studio, and he has repeatedly declined. No, I don't want to come in studio. All right, well, okay. But I can come on by phone. All right, Ralph. Well, what do you want to talk about? And this is my least favorite answer to that. He says, well, I could talk about anything. All right, well, so can I. Presumably people are guests on the show because they have some sort of expertise in something. But Ralph's a good guy. We'll find a way to get him back on, even though he refuses to come in studio. Some sad news that has nothing to do with the attempted assassination on President Trump. We lost Richard Simmons, a real fitness and exercise pioneer who has helped a lot of people over the course of the last half century. And in the 80s, really became not just a national, but a worldwide icon. An author, guy that wrote all kinds of books and did all these videos, sweating to the oldies. And as I understand it, would spend a good portion of his day calling people personally when the cameras weren't on, when nobody knew what he was doing, getting them motivated and trying to help people. Here's a typical Richard Simmons video.
Well, now take your time because the disco's open all night. We're going to shake off some of those inches. Are y'all ready? Everybody and clap. Get on the floor. Now 4 corners and back. Try it again.
So he died on Saturday at the age of 76. And I really like Richard Simmons, and I'm sorry that I never got to talk to him on air, but he basically disappeared. He totally withdrew from public life 10 or 11 years ago. In fact, we did a segment not long ago exploring why someone like Richard Simmons, who was so well known, so famous, and presumably did pretty well financially, why he would just decide to disappear from public life. And really, we don't know. But then he was had been slowly making appearances or public pronouncements about what he was doing. He criticized this new Pauly Shore movie about him. He announced that he was working on a musical. And he put out a Facebook post or a social media post the day before he passed away, thanking people for the birthday wishes because he had just turned 76. And he was someone who didn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He looked like a regular person. And he dedicated his life to helping others get in shape. And, you know, he had talked about his own battles with obesity. I think right around the time that he graduated college, either high school or college, I think it was high school actually, he was almost 270 pounds. And he understood what was going on. But he was also just such a character. He was so loud and energetic and flamboyant. He was, even with all that, even with all the showmanship, he was focused on helping people, period. Grew up in New Orleans in the 50s. And he said he was teased relentlessly as a child for being heavy. Moved to Italy as a foreign exchange student. What an interesting life. Even though Richard Simmons didn't seem happy about it, I'm looking forward to seeing that Pauly Shore movie. Who knows if it's going to be worth seeing. And I hope this play is still going to be made even without Richard Simmons' participation now. So really an incredible guy. Incredible guy. Here he was. I mean, part of what made him incredible was he would go on these talk shows. He would go on The Tonight Show. He would go on Howard Stern. And he was just such an incredible, larger-than-life personality. Here he is with David Letterman in October of 2007. This is one of the later public appearances that he did.
Welcome back to the program. You look great.
You didn't mean it, did you?
No. How you doing, Richard?
Why do you think I aggravate you?
Oh, you know, I don't know.
I'm not annoying at all. Look, I'm happy, I'm perky.
Yeah.
I'm here to see you and I love you.
Yeah. Now listen, by the way, happy birthday. It's a very significant, kind of a milestone birthday. I've attained it myself, and congratulations to you. Tell the folks how old you're going to be.
I'm going to be 60 years old.
60 years old, ladies and gentlemen. 60 years old.
So that was however many years ago, 16 years ago, 17 years ago. He was so satirized in popular culture all the time because he was ubiquitous. He was almost universally known. He was to exercise gurus what the George Foreman grill was to alternative grills. Do you know anyone in America that did not at one point have a George Foreman grill? Everybody had a George Foreman grill. Richard Simmons was the fitness guru of people. He was the George Foreman grill of fitness gurus. I remember there was one episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns had as his servant a robot Mr. Simmons. A Mr. Burns had as his servant a robot Richard Simmons, which was kind of cool. I mean, how many other people get to that point where they're not just satirized on The Simpsons, they're a robot on The Simpsons? That's pretty amazing. There's a little more of him with David Letterman.
The last time I was here, I asked you and your audience to help me get PE back in the school system.
To get PE.
Many of these
Physical
activity. Many of these people out here have children, and kids are not getting any physical fitness, any physical, and no recess in many schools.
I know.
So I've been working with the NEA, the National Education Association, and we want to get for your children out there and for all the people out here, physical activity and recess every day for the children in the United States of America.
And you're serious about that stuff. If you want to comment, you can. 646-720-0635. He was someone who was serious about physical fitness and helping people, but he was also naturally funny. He was not at all self-conscious, and he believed in what he was doing. So I'm sorry to see him go. He had announced recently in one of these social media posts that he had been suffering with skin cancer. So apparently it was much more serious than a lot of us realized, and ultimately he's gone. But I still can never understand why he withdrew from public life. I still don't understand why he became a recluse. Maybe he just got tired of it, but here he was talking to the Today Show about it.
I just sort of wanted to be a little bit of a loner for a while. You know, I had hurt my knee, Savannah, and I had some problems with it. And then the other knee started to give me trouble because I've taught like thousands and thousands of classes. And, you know, right now I just want to sort of, you know, just take care of me.
And was this a conscious decision?
I just really don't want to do anything. You know, I just don't want to be traveling anymore. It certainly has taken its toll on me.
There you go. Maybe he was just tired of it. So be it. I understand that. There even was all sorts of rumors about him once he disappeared and didn't want to do anything, that he had withdrawn from public life, that he was being somehow held captive by his housekeeper or somebody. And these guys did this podcast exploring it. And it was very popular at the time, also criticized somewhat, but it was called the Missing Richard Simmons podcast. And here's a compilation of some of the concerns that were expressed in this podcast.
This wasn't just I don't want to be famous anymore. This is everyone has their hooks in me, and I got to claw something back.
The good Richard is an amazing Richard. The tormented Richard, maybe he's not happy with the person that he is, you know.
And yet he's built a life around telling people to love themselves.
That's bizarre, right? Yeah, it's a little bit complicated.
A little bit complicated indeed. I guess we're all complicated people. All right. 646-720-0635. Noam Laden is going to join me in just a bit. If you want to weigh in via email, you can certainly email me at frank.morano. It's frank.morano at redappleaudionetworks.com. Frank.morano at redappleaudionetworks.com. And we've got a Facebook group. If you're a listener of the show and you want to connect with people that are also listeners of the show and comment on what I'm doing, say things that you like, say things that you don't like, offer feedback, ask questions about anything that we're doing on there, just go to Facebook and type Morano, Morano, radio, fans and haters, and it comes right up. All right, we'll talk with Noam Laden and you straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano. It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
So bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like
22 minutes after the hour. This is the Super Bowl shuffle by the 1985 Chicago Bears. You know who I shouldn't say this, but you know who I invited on the program today? I somehow got a hold of the phone number for Mike Ditka. And I sent him a very nice SMS text message inviting him on the program. This was before there was a presidential shooting. But he didn't write me back, which I thought was a little rude, I must say. Can't do it, you can't do it. Just give me a sorry, can't do it, busy, not available, whatever. One word. But, and then, so I don't like to bother people. So when he doesn't respond to the SMS text message, I'm not going to call, hey, by the way, you didn't respond to my text message. So I was a little disappointed in Coach Ditka, but who knows? Maybe we will see him again in the future. Meantime, someone who is never a disappointment, someone who has been working around the clock, tirelessly. I was tired just listening to him over the weekend. And yet, in spite of all of the fatigue that I'm sure that was in place, working day and night on 2 days where you weren't expecting to work, reported nothing but accurate information in spite of the attempt by myself and others to feed him inaccurate information. The one and only Noam Laden is here.
Stand by for the other side of midnight's news.
From New York City, the other side of midnight and its affiliated stations present national and international news with Frank Morano and news director Noam Laden. Their summary of the world news and personal comments. Get the rest of the story.
Hey there, Noam. I'm amazed that you're still standing.
Is this my... Oh, there we go. Now my microphone's working. Yes, good morning. Yeah, no, it was fine. You were one of the individuals who was sending me bad information during the course of the evening.
But I told you where it was from. I was sending you links to the articles and stuff.
Right. Well, at one point, I had like 17, different names of who the gunman was. And don't get me wrong, I love when people send me stuff. But you sent me stuff, and I think I asked you, where did you get this from? I think you said, I don't know.
No.
That was your response. I don't know where I got this from.
No, it was not. I told you exactly.
I got this from the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The internet. Yeah, the mysterious internet. Right. That's exactly what I was doing.
No, you were giving me good information. Please. It was no doubt about it, just a horrendous, horrible weekend that it's gotten this bad. But, as a newscaster, the juice gets flowing in those moments.
Absolutely.
And you kind of live for that.
Well, you did a great job. No doubt about it.
Thank you very much.
Any new information that you could share with us?
Nothing really new in terms of the gunman. Right now, it for sure, and let's hope it stays this way, that it is a lone wolf scenario of a guy who was kind of maybe this is mean, but a loser in his initial early life, maybe a little bit of an outcast in high school. That's some of the initial reports.
Yeah,
and that he acted alone.
I've seen those reports as well, and it does seem like the type of person that would be more like a school shooter, someone that was bullied a bit, someone that was a loner that had a difficult time making friends, rather than somebody who was waging a war for freeing Palestine or some sort of political cause,
or some sort of bigger conspiracy where he was being paid or there was other people involved. That's what we want it to be. We didn't want it to happen, but now that it's happened, we want it to be a lone gunman. So let's hope that story holds up. The hottest place. So there's a cafe in Bellevue, Washington, Frank, that has all the trappings of a typical urban coffee shop. It's got a high-end espresso machine, a pastry case that's stocked with scones. It's got beautiful patio seating on the sidewalk.
Sounds great.
It's the kind of place where friends would want to meet, or where you'd want to take your laptop out and start doing some work, remote work. The odd part about this coffee shop is it's in a senior living facility. And this has become a trend that has just started maybe in the last 12 months, maybe 15 months, where the senior living centers have decided that they're going to now not just be inward facing, but outward facing for a number of reasons. One is obviously it's a moneymaker. So if you put a high-end restaurant or coffee shop like they did in Bellevue, people, and then open it up to everybody, not just the senior citizens who live in the senior living center, people will show up. You cannot get a seat sometimes in this main cafe in Bellevue, Washington, and it's not senior citizens, it's everybody. It's multi-generational. We've seen this with some senior living centers down in Florida as well, opening full-scale restaurants that are not just inward, upward to anybody who wants to go, Italian, you name it. And what's been so interesting is, number one, is it's been hard in some of these places to get a table. So what they've had to do is now say the senior citizens who live in these senior citizens get first dibs on the table, and then everybody else.
Why shouldn't they get first dibs?
But here's the more important part is a lot of times when you start living in these senior living areas, the only people you interact with during the course of the day are people of your own generation.
Right.
And there's all these studies that suggest that multi-generational living, intergenerational interaction is what people who are older need. It staves off loneliness. It makes them feel like they're part still of society. And so accidentally, this has become a really great thing. These restaurants are doing really well. They're making money for these senior living villages. But at the same time, for people who might not have these interactions, may not have younger family that comes to visit them, they're having these multi-interactions with people who are not of their generation. So it has so far been a win-win, except in these places where it's hard to get a table.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I also would add that I think there's a lot to be said for the benefit of the young people interacting with older folks as well. I think a lot of them are having issues with loneliness and things like that as well. And I think it can broaden your perspective to spend time with people of a lot of varying different generations and different age groups. I try to do that. I try to do that myself in my own personal life. I try to have friends and acquaintances from all walks of life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. At 30 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. Very pleased to be with the one and only Noam Laden. What else do you have for us, Noam?
So you've been married how many years now?
5 years in September.
Do you have communication with any of your ex-girlfriends that you knew before, Rachel?
Well, I actually didn't have that many ex-girlfriends. I really only had one serious ex-girlfriend. I do talk to her occasionally.
Oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, exactly. You met her,
okay.
yeah. So I do talk to her occasionally, but...
and is Rachel's okay with that?
Yeah, and in fact... she might be listening now because she's got a little baby of her own now, so I don't want to say anything bad. But her uncle is a very close friend of both Rachel and me. In fact, I think her uncle is actually probably closer with me than he is with her. So yeah, we don't hang out. We don't go for coffee or lunch or things like that.
Do you watch to see what Rachel does online with? I assume she has ex-boyfriends, like you have an ex-girlfriend, right?
She has
numerous.
She has
more than one.
Well, one main one. Yeah.
So I asked because there's been this trend towards micro-cheating. Do you know what micro-cheating is?
No, but I'm sure I'm not going to like it. I'm sure I'm not going to agree with this as a trend.
There's a number of things involved in micro-cheating, but one of the thing of micro-cheating is going online and liking or commenting on what exes are up to. So maybe you, or even somebody that you don't necessarily know. Maybe it's a beautiful picture of somebody that follows you on Facebook. That's in a bikini or on Instagram, or and then hitting the like button, or maybe even making a comment that says, "Wow, you look fantastic." Now we're finding out that sometimes spouses get really upset and get jealous of these moments, and they call this micro-cheating. And a lot of times it involves, of course, exes who you've either, were thrown out by, or, maybe you just left on your own. And we're finding that more times women, by the way, are upset about this than men.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
And they'll see that their husbands are hitting the like button or making a comment on an ex or just some beautiful woman that's out there.
Micro-cheat. This is ridiculous. You know what? This so diminishes what real cheating is that there's nothing wrong with this. Nothing wrong at all.
So Rachel be okay if you're commenting on somebody that's like, at the beach in a bikini, you say, "Hey, you look fantastic!" Exclamation point.
I can't see her caring about this. We've got so much going on. I think we have had this discussion, and my read on this is Rachel doesn't have time to worry about this, and neither do I. If she wants to comment on whatever, God bless. She doesn't like an in-person comment, or like some in-person interaction. For instance, there was one photograph that I took with a friend of mine where she thought that my hand was a little low in the photograph. Now, it was not. It was not.
Right.
I've shown this photograph to everybody, and they felt that Rachel was off base, but like that kind of thing. She's concerned, as I think a normal person would be, with in-person real interactions, not liking a page on Facebook or something.
Yeah, well, we now for decades, or at least a decade, maybe more, we've been talking about these Facebook divorces, of course, where people reconnect on Facebook and then it leads to these relationships. But this is the next page or next phase of that, is this idea that you shouldn't be following or liking things that, that some people would deem as inappropriate for your relationship.
You can count me out of this micro cheating trend. I will tell you that. I think it's absolutely preposterous. If you're just tuning in, I'm Frank Morano. You're listening to The Other Side of Midnight, talking to Noam Laden.
It's funny. There was a picture. I had this interaction a number of years ago where I had a picture. Morning radio, you meet a lot of people, and you meet a lot of beautiful people for that matter. And a picture of me with Miss Universe, where it looked like we were incredibly comfortable. That's cool. And I did hear about that when I got home.
Did you?
Yeah. Why are you putting this picture up? And I said, well, it's just part of my gig.
How long were you married at that point?
A while. Yeah.
Oh, really?
A couple years. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And, the funny thing, she wasn't even that attractive, I didn't think. It was just like she wanted to take pictures.
Yeah, I get it. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so be it.
Sir Elton John, did you hear about this? He was in Nice, France, with his now teenage kids. So actually, one's 13 and one's 11. There with his husband, David. They were in a shoe store, and Elton John needed to use the bathroom. He's an older guy, now 77 years old, and he looked at the owner of this high-end shoe store in Nice, and he said, "Hey, can I use your bathroom?" And they said, "Well, I don't have a bathroom." So he then he has security personnel with him wherever he goes. He then turns to the security personnel, and he says, can you find me, or do you have a bottle?
Wow.
Yeah, and in moments, the security personnel come back with a bottle, and he relieves himself in this shoe store in a bottle. Well, you can imagine the owner not too happy to see that he was doing that, and he comes up and he says, "What are you doing? Who are you?" And and he looks at him and he says, "I'm out." He didn't recognize him. He goes, "I'm Elton John." And apparently that was good enough for this guy. He was fine with it, that he had somebody peeing in his store, especially Elton John. They took some pictures and they went on their way.
How can they not have any sort of bathroom in the store? What if that guy has to go to the bathroom?
They always have a bathroom in the store. He didn't recognize him. It's one of those moments, usually a famous face gets you out of a situation, right? You would think he'd walk into the shoe store and recognize him.
The whole point of being famous.
Exactly. You need the bathroom, they would absolutely use. The rest of us commoners, we always are told there is no bathroom. Of course there is. There's a bathroom for the employees, but they don't ever want you using it.
Yeah. Did you watch the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yes.
That was a pretty integral plot point in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Noam.
Sure.
And now you know the rest of the story.
646-720-0635. If you want to comment, 646-720-0635. One of the things that we've been talking about with respect to this presidential assassination is what exactly did the Secret Service get wrong? What exactly did local law enforcement get wrong? And what did they get right, actually? So we were going to have one of the great American law enforcement professionals of our time on tomorrow. Gary McCarthy is going to be here, and I believe Colonel Douglas McGregor is going to be here as well, backed by popular demand. He's got a lot of outspoken views on the Russia-Ukraine situation, and I'm sure he's going to say a lot of things that are going to drive a lot of people crazy, but his national security bona fides are beyond reproach, so there's a lot that I have questions for him about as well. All right. Let me say hello to Pete, who has been kind enough to hold. Hey there, Pete.
Hey, Frank. Frank, it's pouring in Staten Island, so have your umbrella and have your whatever you got, galoshes. It is pouring thunderstorm and everything in Bull's Head right now.
Right, well, thank you for the heads up.
Hopefully it blows off by the time you're coming home, I hope. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. And about with Richard Simmons, I had the honor of knowing him for a little while. I met him on the set of David Letterman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I always dealt with a weight problem. I fluctuated. I went up to almost, I was 347 at one time when I was working as a stagehand. And then I would, lose weight. But I would always feel that if I lost weight, I was not strong because I used to move pianos and stuff, with the piano movers. And, but he taught me, how to eat a little more sensible and exercise and really helped me out. And I've been in touch with him up to about 8 years ago. After that, he didn't call me and I didn't call him anymore. But he was a beautiful, extraordinary man. And I just wanted to say that. And about my comments on what happened with President Trump, I was affected very, very much because I love President Trump. But I wouldn't make any comments with, my affiliation that I had with the Secret Service with Nixon. But I got a lot of respect and love and admiration for the Secret Service. But I'm going to give it a little more time till the final verdict comes in. But all my information, I listen to 77 WABC because it's the most accurate information out there. And I'm not throwing roses at you. I'm telling the truth. Because all the reports, Curtis was great. You were great with the reports. And Noam Laden was fantastic. So that's where I get my information from. But I got to give it a little more time because all these conspiracy things and everything, the Secret Service, my respect is there. And that young lady who was guarding Trump, that I don't know her name, was fantastic. I mean, she guarded the front of him, any kind of kill shots or anything. But, naturally they go to the head. That's the thing. And, you can't go and do an interview with a helmet on,
Pete, remind me, if you would, what was your affiliation with the Secret Service and the Nixon administration?
I was with Nixon, and I was assigned to New York. I would take the girls and Pat Nixon shopping at Tiffany's.
Wait, but you were in the Secret Service?
Well, what the thing was, I was in the Secret Service, but I was hired privately by Nixon family. Okay, and that's what was the big thing. Because you're talking about dating. My girl that I was dating, that was with me with the Secret Service, Carol, at the time. My wife and her are best friends. We travel together. I like to go to the racetrack, and my wife Renee don't really like to go that much, so I go to the track with Carol, like to Monmouth, things like that. And we're very friendly, and, her husband, I introduced him. He was in best man at my wedding, but he passed away 3 years ago. So we all stay in touch. We have a good relationship. So this is what goes on. That's what I got the job through her because she worked for Nixon. And this is, where I stand on. I have a lot of admiration for the service. But like I said, what's going on in this world with the deep state and all these things, we see it and we know it's there, but it has to be proven.
Yeah, of course, Pete. Yeah.
Hopefully, eventually it will be. But I'm not going to be no armchair quarterback. I'm waiting for more stuff to come in because, believe it or not, it's only 2 days.
Exactly.
It's still early.
Exactly, Pete. And I think you're being very responsible in how you're handling that. So I appreciate that. All right, 646-720-0635. Michael is on Long Island. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Frank. Big fan of your show.
Oh, thanks.
My question is, while this was going on, the whole Trump thing, you were taking your son Carmine to a Met game.
That's right.
I happened to. It's a weird coincidence, and I will never forget this moment because as they say, where were you when this happened? I happened to be looking at my phone, and there was a picture that popped up, and it was your son, Carmine, eating a cheeseburger at a tailgate party.
Yeah, that's true. I did post that very photo. He seemed to be enjoying that cheeseburger. That's right.
And it was a very funny, cool picture. And right after that, that's when it happened.
Well, you're not saying he's a suspect or anything.
No.
Okay.
I'm definitely not saying that, but it's just a reminder of the question of where were you when that happened? And I happened to be walking in and out of my house, and I walked in, and the TV said Trump shot. But that was like 2 seconds before. Somehow, a picture of your son showed up on my phone. And
I appreciate that. And people could see that picture on Twitter if they want, at Frank Morano. Well, hopefully, it's terrible that it's something that we need to think about, but hopefully you'll keep Carmine and me around in mind whenever you think about the shooting in the future.
I don't mean it in a bad way at all.
Please, I take it as a compliment. I'm glad that you liked the photo. I'm glad you cared.
It's an iconic moment in history, and I don't really know what else to say other than to say that it was a very cool picture of your son. And then 2 seconds later, boom, the world changed.
Well, you know what? I think maybe that says a lot about how quickly the world can change, right? From the innocent and the positive to the devastating and the evil, Michael. So it is an important, right? In seconds, everything can change. Michael, thanks for the call. I appreciate you following us on
Pizza's face. Pizza slice.
I still can't figure out why he was chanting pizza slice. Meanwhile, in our Facebook group, Hal Stevens just posted that photo of Noam Laden with Miss Universe, which he said caused a minor problem with the misses. I don't know if you heard what I heard with Noam a minute ago. I don't remember seeing this picture ever, years ago, whenever. Noam said, I didn't think she was all that great. I'm looking at this photo, and I'm not wowed by any of these models or anything like that. This woman is stunning looking. I mean, I can understand if I'm Mrs. Laden why she doesn't want Noam posing with Miss Universe here. This is some photo. My goodness. Now, this is not micro cheating, please. This is make sure we have some phone numbers ready for people to look up the status of the prenuptial agreement. I mean, my goodness, I can understand where Mrs. Laden is coming from. And yet I don't understand Noam being the guy a minute ago that said, she was all right. Right, Matt? Did you hear what Noam said? He kind of downplayed it, which I believe.
He has to now. Well, he got in trouble for it, so now he's got to go, she was okay.
No, because some women that are well regarded as supermodels or Miss whatever, Miss Galaxy, Miss Universe, Miss Olympia, they are just, okay, this woman is, please, this is ridiculous, this photo. Did you see this photo?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Am I right?
Yeah, 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, your significant other would be pretty irked at you being so cozy with this Miss Universe, right?
I don't know if she would be. She doesn't really get like that, so I don't think so. But some women are like that, and I can understand.
I'll tell you what. See if we can book this particular Miss Universe in studio, and then we'll do that experiment and see how it goes over with everybody. All right, 646-720-0635. Let me say hello to Lorraine, calling from Cleveland, which was the last time I was at a Republican National Convention. It was in Cleveland. I actually liked Cleveland. That was my first time there. Hi, Lorraine.
Good morning.
I had a couple of brief comments. First of all, I remember Richard Simmons first coming on the scene during the high days of Luke and Laura on General Hospital. They would all go to their exercise classes. That's when he first became famous. And everybody would watch him every day. It was pretty incredible back then. And anyway, the other thing I wanted to comment was the Secret Service. And I've read a couple books about the Secret Service. And, Dan Bongino was a big Secret Service guy. And they always talked about how Hillary was just hated. She wouldn't let anybody look at her. It was like you were being punished if you were on her detail. The Obamas were loved. The Bushes were loved. But I had heard, or they say that Biden used to love to swim naked in front of this women's secret. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but that's what they said. And, his dogs bite all of them.
Well, that I did know. Yeah, that's fact. The situation with the dog. Yeah.
Yeah, and Trump is just beloved by his Secret Service people. That person that called before, I just felt compelled to call. That's not true. They just love him. He treats them with the deepest respect, and they say even all of his employees. He knows their names and everything about their families. So I just wanted to make sure that people realize that wasn't true what he said.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Lorraine, because the truth is that when it comes to how the Secret Service detail of Trump, Biden, Obama, Clinton, Bush, whomever, I have no idea how these Secret Service agents feel about any of these presidents. I do believe that however they may feel about a president's politics, or even if a president is super nice to them or not nice at all to them, I do think, at least I'd hope, that most of the agents, if not all the agents on the detail, would still look after their protectee with the same amount of professionalism and passion. So I think even if they really despised a first lady or a president that they were protecting, I still think they would go all out.
Oh, and Dan Bongino said they would always. Oh my goodness! Of course, they didn't not do anything to their utmost ability to take care of all those people. But I mean, just Trump. They say these details that were with him have been with him for years, and they love him. And so for someone to say, that they let him get shot or something, it's just ridiculous.
No, I mean, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all, Lorraine.
All right.
I'm glad that
I love your show.
Thank you, Lorraine. That's nice of you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't buy that. And that's the danger with getting information from radio and callers in such a manner is who knows what's true? You don't. That's why I always try to, ask for sourcing. Oh, you know who I didn't mention today? I mentioned Richard Simmons. I mentioned Dr. Ruth. I did not mention the passing yesterday of Shannon Doherty. I'll be honest, I didn't really know anything about Shannon Doherty. I knew the name Shannon Doherty. I never really saw her in anything. I guess she was best known for Beverly Hills 90210, which I never saw one episode of, honestly. But she had her fans, and it's a shame she was only 53 when she passed away. I don't think she was in anything that I ever saw, right? I mean, I see she was in, she was on Little House on the Prairie. I had seen that. And when I say I've seen Little House on the Prairie, I've seen a couple of episodes when I was a younger person.
Heathers? You ever see Heathers?
Heathers I did see.
She was in that.
And I'm looking now. She was also in a couple of Kevin Smith films, but I don't remember who she played in, say, Mallrats or Jay and Silent Bob.
The only thing I remember about Mallrats is when they walk up to her and they're like, Brenda? Because that was her character in 90210.
Oh, really?
So in Mallrats, they walk up to her at one point and they just go, Brenda? And then she says, I think she says like, F you or something like that.
I wouldn't see now. I want to rewatch that because I'm sure I watched that and I didn't get the joke.
Right, you had no idea
because I didn't know who
meant.
Brenda was. See, that's interesting. But anyway, I'm sorry that she's gone. Not only because it's sad whenever anyone dies, but she died at a relatively young age, and she had a lot of issues. She'd been battling breast cancer these last 9 years, which is very sad. But it's also sad in that she's the third celebrity to die in a weekend. And this keeps alive this myth that celebrities die in threes, which I hear every time a celebrity dies. Because And I want to be clear. It is total and complete nonsense. There's no truth to it at all. Celebrities don't die in threes. I mean, sometimes they do. Sometimes they die in twos or fours. Because what people do in order to prove this theory is they just take whatever the last three celebrities to die were, and they say, oh, that's the third celebrity. You know, if Shannon Doherty didn't die, they would have said it was Shelley Duvall, Dr. Ruth, and Richard Simmons. So it's total nonsense. Total nonsense. I don't know if this person wants me saying who it is, but as somebody over the weekend that I ran into said, the only reason Shannon Doherty died is because President Trump just didn't turn 2 inches in the other direction, or he did turn 2 inches in the other direction, because otherwise he would have been the third celebrity and Shannon Doherty would still be alive. Now, it's totally ridiculous. And I told the person that said this to me, and he said, no, it's fact. I said, no, it's the opposite of fact. Literally just making things up with no factual basis. But there you have it. Celebrities dying in threes. Shannon Doherty, sorry to her family, her friends, and certainly all her fans. All right, we're going to do 15 seconds of fame where you can comment on anything you like for 15 seconds. 646-720-0635. We'll do that straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight. It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Couple of minutes before the top of the hour, we're going to give you an opportunity to be heard for 15 seconds. All you have to do is dial 1-646-720-0635 as we embark upon another edition of
The Other Side of Midnight. This is 15 Seconds of Fame.
Robert.
People like Joy Reid talking about Hitler and presidents in the same breath are nut jobs.
Janine.
My question is for constitutional scholars. America needs you, constitutional scholars. Are executive orders from presidents constitutional? And if so, do they only apply to government employees within Washington, D.C.? And if not, are they illegal?
Mike.
Morning, Frank. On Saturday evening, the breath of God pushed a bullet off its intended path, but it left a sign for all the world to see. A streak of blood upon his face, and out of the violence rose a phoenix. His task diverted, not complete, he will carry on to save the Republic. Believe what you want. I believe this is his purpose. Thank you.
Bob.
Ron in Chicago, you're a stupid idiot. The Secret Service loves Donald
He's
Trump.
In Michigan.
Everybody,
Michigan?
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, he sounds like he's from Chicago. But everybody knows the Secret Service loves Donald Trump, and Hillary was the most hated.
Larry.
What is this, Frank? On your Facebook page, you imply there's a conspiracy. You say they got him, and then you say on your show that I don't have any evidence of a conspiracy. I think you speak with forked tongue. I mean, let's get to the truth here. Come on,
Maria.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. You know, even as people in the middle that are smart, that was terrible what happened. I actually felt bad for Donald. That was scary to see that on TV. And whatever's going on in our government, in our world, it's got to stop, and it's not going to stop.
And finally, David.
To avoid any future accusations of inappropriate hand placement, you must wear giant oven mitts and keep your hands above your head at all times.
Frank Morano, good day.